the Lakers a championship contender? It's a real question, right? The Lakers have been very good, very solid right now. They have one of the best records in the league since their 2-10 start. But is it enough, right? We got this new trade, we got this new talent, got this new roster, and they have to do in a very quick turnaround, 25 games together, what teams have had an entire season to do. And now, again, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. The Lakers, again, have been really solid since that 2-10 start. Since then, they are currently 30-24, which is really good, right? They are well above 500. If that was their record right now, they would be essentially the fifth seed, the fourth seed. They'd be fighting for that 4 or 5 spot and pretty much solidified in that position, right? So the fact that if they can continue that track record, that would be very telling going forward. Also, the Lakers have a top 5 defense and a top 5 offense since the trade. That is usually another good indication that a team is a championship level contender. They have the role players, they have the stars, they have everything you need for a formula for success in the playoffs to lead to a championship. Now, does that mean that we should, lock it in, Lakers in 4 type mantra, right? Are we ready to call them NBA champions? Not quite. Again, there are a lot of factors that go in, especially come playoff time. But I absolutely love the Lakers' odds. Problem is that they are fighting this uphill battle and having to work twice as hard as some of the other teams, right? Like Denver is just kind of on cruise control right now, right? They're getting their wins. They've been a well-oiled machine all year. They're going to continue to be that. And whoever they end up facing in the first round, they probably run through unless it's the Lakers. I really think the Lakers match up size-wise. But health is a big concern, right? Are guys going to be able to be healthy? LeBron is currently out right now. And between AD and LeBron, they've played, 71 games together over the last 3 seasons? Now, this team, in my opinion, is better than the 2020 team, which was the most recent championship contender for the Lakers. Being a contender, though, doesn't necessarily mean that you will win the championship. It just means you're one of the handful of teams that have a real shot. And that I do believe. I do believe if the Lakers get into the playoffs, they are one of those handful of teams that have a real opportunity to come out and hold that trophy at the end of the year. But when you compare this team to the previous team, you also have to take things into account, right? Many teams are better. Teams are more stacked now than ever before, right? You have some new threats and, teams like Dallas who could just get really hot. Teams like the Phoenix Suns who now have Kevin Durant, although their defense isn't championship level, which is why I don't necessarily think that they will be one of those teams. But we'll see. Time will tell. How will they mesh? How will they be able to figure it out? How will they be able to work towards the goal that the Lakers are working towards? But that 2020 team and this team now, we didn't have a D'Angelo Russell type player, a guy that could score at all 3 levels. We didn't have a Jared Vanderbilt who was just an elite lockdown defender that could guard all 5 positions, right? You got your Alex Caruso and Austin Reeves. You got your little high-powered, high-motor type big men and Mo Bamba and Winning Gabriel. You got your kind of off-the-bench scorer and Lonnie Walker, your KCP type player and Malik Beasley. You got various similarities that you see with this team as opposed to the 2020 team. And I do think that this team has the potential. But that 2020 team also had insane chemistry. They were really they were for themselves. And this team seems to be, but again, we've had just a small sample size compared to the scope of the overall season to really gauge that. If they continue in this positive direction and guys can stay healthy, then I absolutely believe that we have a chance. Problem is, we're not going to have home court, so we're definitely going to have to win a lot of games on the road, which can be very challenging come playoff time. But end of the day, you trust your team to get the job done, right? We have a legit big 3, Some people might not look at it as a big 3, but we do. D'Angelo Russell is a guy that could go get you 20 on any given night. A guy that could give you, 17 and 8 on any given night. a guy that fits seamlessly next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who are your two stars who are going to handle the bulk of the lifting going forward. But to have that guy that you could fall back on that is a three-level scorer threat is huge, as well as a playmaker. We didn't have anything like that. LeBron was our guy. We had Rondo, who was a great playmaker, and he turned into Ray Allen in the playoffs. But there were questions about him all season, and D'Lo kind of fills that role of that guy who night in and night out can go and just go off. If you need him to get you 20, he can. People forget, our third guy was KCP. He was the guy that was third on that roster in 2020. D'Lo, even in his worst years, has had better career stats than KCP. He is a legit third guy that could really help. I mean, he's a guy by himself, led a very young, kind of clunky and awkward, but very fun Brooklyn Nets team to the playoffs. Right? He's a guy that has averaged 23 points a game in a season. And now he is your third complementary player that I think just fits seamlessly because he can play off the ball from LeBron James. LeBron James is still looking like LeBron James this year, looking like, a top 5, top 10 player at the worst, which is insane to think about at 38 years old, year 20. And Anthony Davis has shown time and time again, when he wants to be, he could be the best player in the world. That guy on both sides of the ball is an absolute juggernaut. You have your two star pieces that are still the best duo in the league, hands down, right? They really are. It's just the problem is injuries. Injuries have really derailed the Lakers the last several seasons. Anthony Davis not being able to stay healthy, LeBron James not being able to stay healthy. But if those two can stay healthy, you are in a wonderful position. And LeBron being out could be a very solid thing. Yes, he's rehabbing a foot injury, but he's getting his mind, his body, all the little knick-knack stuff. He's getting that right. Anthony Davis got some extended period in time, and we still have an uphill battle to climb. But still, I do believe that we can do that. D'Lo and Anthony Davis should be able to hold down the fort. Anthony Davis has been able to hold down the fort so far. D'Lo coming back is going to help in that regard. And you're going to see these two really be able to kind of handle a bulk of that load without LeBron James. And then once LeBron comes back, you give me a healthy LeBron James and we have momentum getting into the playoffs. That is a huge thing. We also have the rotation guys, right? So you got your three main guys, right? But you also need those other guys that can fill in. Rui Hachimura, sizable defensive wing that could really help. He's been great. He's been solid, inconsistent at times, but he hasn't really gotten his opportunity with his shots since we got that big trade, right? He came in and he was great for us the first handful of games before the big trade, but that was because he was getting better looks. He was getting more opportunity. And he will continue to get that as LeBron and D'Lo come back. But here's the other thing too. The mid-range game is so much more efficient in the playoffs because teams really try to shut down the paint and they really try to close out hard on the three-point shot. So that leaves the mid-range as your weapon of, operation. And having a guy like Rui, Beasley, D'Lo, AD, guys like that can knock down that mid-range, it is huge. Even Austin Reeves, right? We have several guys that can do that, and that is huge. But Rui is a guy that will really thrive in that role as a mid-range guy. I could see him going off one night and helping win and being a huge factor in that win in the playoffs because his bread and butter is what is going to be most effective come the playoffs. It's not a coincidence that year in and year out, usually the teams that have the most success are the teams that have multiple guys that can knock down the mid-range. The Phoenix Suns have been very good the last few years. Why? Because they have, Devin Booker and Chris Paul who can knock down the mid-range. Milwaukee, they have, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday that can knock down the mid-range. You have, the Clippers who, yes, they're a second-round exit, but they even went to a Western Conference Finals. They got, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard might have one of the best mid-ranges we've ever seen because that shot is really there and available more times than not. when you get to the playoffs. So I do think Rui is going to be a guy that can really thrive if given the opportunities. He's also hit big shots for this Lakers team this year, so he's not afraid of the moment, which is great, and I like to see that. Also, you got Austin Reeves, who again is another guy. Yes, it's his second year, but he has shown time and time again he isn't afraid of the moment. He's a guy that hits big shots. He's a guy that's hit game winners. He's a guy that it almost like he thrives in those moments, right? He's got that Mamba mentality. He's like, give me that. And I think he's going to thrive in his role. He plays so well off of the stars, and that's what you need, are those complementary guys. Alex Caruso was really good in that championship run because he played so well off of LeBron and AD. Austin Reeves is a better version of Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso is probably the better defender overall, but Austin Reeves is all around the better player. And he is really that guy that's going to thrive beautifully in that role next to LeBron and AD and playing off of the stars, as well as D'Lo. A guy that can be a secondary ball handler on the court at all times, shoot the three ball at an efficient clip, operate in the mid-range, get his own shot. We've seen his ability to do that. He's going to really help. Not just that, but he's been very good defensively this year and played very hard. You need those guys, those glue guys, those hard-nosed, just tough guys that just do the dirty work. That is Austin Reeves for you. And a guy that isn't going to be scared come the big moment. Game 7, minute left, tie game. Who do you got? Austin Reeves is a guy that I believe you put in that game and you let him go to work. Trust him to help you get the job done. That's who you're looking at. And then Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder might be the best backup point guard in the league. I'm not really super high on him as your primary point guard, but as a backup point guard, absolutely. He might really be the best backup point guard in the league. If not, he is hands down one of them. He is up there as far as that equation goes. And his ability and experience in the playoffs, a guy that can, create for others, but also go get his own shot, go get to the rim and get a bucket, shoots well from the free throw line. All of those things really help. He's got a nice little floater, hits the mid-range shot pretty decent, and can be a guy that really can impact a game on multiple levels. We've seen him have big games and essentially single-handedly win games for us. Not just that, but his hustle and his defense, the entire length of the court is really going to be helpful as a guy that can come in and have that playmaker role and really kind of take pressure off of LeBron, take pressure off of D'Lo. You can play him alongside D'Lo. You can play him alongside LeBron if you need be, based on matchup stuff like that. Again, just a very solid guy that really helps. We had Rajon Rondo as like that secondary playmaker, that guy that, helped alleviate LeBron. Dennis Schroeder can provide a lot of those same things, and he still has the ability to go off like Rondo did on occasion and, win us a game by himself. I could see him doing that in this matchup. Jared Vanderbilt, in my opinion, is the ultimate X factor, right? A guy, sizable wing that can guard all 5 positions, and a guy that you could put on the best player night in and night out. Outside of maybe like, you don't want to put him on like the Joker or anything like that. So maybe not night in and night out come playoffs, but for the most part, you could put him on Kawhi. You can put him on Jamal Murray. You can put him on, Ja Morant if you need him to, and he's going off and you play him in the playoffs. You can put him on Kevin Durant or Devin Booker, whichever guy's got the hot hand that night. A guy that's just a Swiss Army knife that's going to get rebounds, that's going to hustle, play hard, play defense, doesn't need the ball, is willing to, can score on just scraps in the dirty work. Those are the kind of guys you need to win a championship. That Draymond Green, that Dennis Rodman type player, those type of guys. That is your Jared Vanderbilt. The guy that doesn't care about his stats, just does what he needs to do to get the job done night in and night out. Jared Vanderbilt might be the 3rd, maybe 4th most important and impactful player on this roster. LeBron and AD are obviously 1A, 1B. D'Lo, I think overall, might make a bigger impact come playoff time, just with his ability to play make and get other guys set up, but also his ability to score, on those like off nights and stuff, or just those tough nights where they're really closing in hard on LeBron or really closing in hard on AD. You can have a guy in D'Lo who can just go off and kind of keep the offense going. But Jared Vanderbilt might be right there with just his ability to play defense. He turns us into a top 10 defense, which is absolutely incredible. Well, really a top 2-3 defense since he's came over. And he's just a guy that night in and night out is just going to make the big plays. He's going to make the big hustle plays. He's going to make those impact plays. He's going to make those Trevor Ariza gets the steal and ends the game in the playoff series type plays to win the NBA championship. That Meta World Peace, type of steal that really sets up and wins the championship to give you guys a little bit of a throwback. That's what he's going to provide. That's what he's going to bring to this team, which is absolutely massive. And then Malik Beasley. Again, he is a volume shooter. He's a high volume shooter, which those kind of guys tend to be either 7 of 11 or 2 of 11. But he's a guy in the playoffs that could single-handedly win you a game because he is just in fuego and he just can't miss, right? And even the nights that he doesn't have it and he can't make a shot, the fact that he is a magnet for the defender, because you're already seeing it. He hasn't shot the ball very well as of recently, right? But guess what? Lakers have the ability to essentially run 4-on-4 out there because Malik Beasley's running around the court constantly, and guys have to stay glued to him because if you leave him open and he sees the ball go through the hoop, you might be in trouble. He's a guy that by himself, you're going to get probably at bare minimum a game, a series where he just shoots, 6 of 10. Or something crazy like that. And you're just like, man, and you win a game on those nights, right? That's what Malik Beasley is going to give you, but just the ability to draw the defender and stretch the floor. Not just that, he's going to have so much more of an easier time with D'Angelo Russell and LeBron James as a playmaker. Right now, you see him, he's working twice as hard just to get open, just to be able to get in a position to just even get a shot off, not even a quality shot. It's not a coincidence that his best game so far as a Laker was with LeBron James and D'Lo, right? Like that was his best game. Why? Because he had LeBron James and D'Lo doing the bulk of the work and he was able to just hit the open shots. He got wide open looks. And so that's going to continue to improve as we go forward. But in general, I mean, we have a squad, we have a roster, we have the depth. There are other guys I could talk about, Mo Bamba, guys like that. But usually once you get to the playoffs, you're looking at about a 7 to 8 guy rotation. A couple guys, Winion might get a couple minutes here and there. Troy Brown, I'm interested to see what kind of minutes he plays, stuff like that. But I think the guys that I mentioned are going to be your kind of core guys that are going to get the bulk of the minutes. You got your starting 5 here, and then you're going to have Schroeder, Reeves. Those guys are really going to kind of be the big impactful guys that are going to kind of, play the bulk of the minutes in the playoffs. So I wanted to kind of highlight those guys more than anything. But look, this is a roster that undoubtedly is a contender, in my opinion. They have to get there first. And again, just because you're a contender doesn't mean you win it. Every year, there is a handful of teams that are contenders, and only one team wins it every year. But I do like our chances. I do think that this team has the potential and capability, if they can get into the playoffs, to beat anybody in a 7-game series. I will absolutely take this team in a 7-game series. Worst case, they are going to be a very tough team to beat, and one of those things that it's like, good luck. Good luck trying to beat these guys. But we'll see. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but I do really like our chances with this roster, with this team going forward. But anyway, as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? How do you feel? What do you think? Let me know down in the